Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Glazers running scared is the headline we're going with, although many will go with the headline that Glazers refuse to apologise. Some very impactful footage from Sky News actually coming in late last night of Avram Glazer being confronted by a Sky News reporter, basically asking him to apologise. Any comment on the protest, just nonchalantly walked along. Some people said they thought it was Dr. Robotnik from Sonic the Hedgehog. It wasn't. It was Avram Glazer, and he got in his car and he drove off. Not for the first time he's done that. So look, the ignorance, arrogance, greed. I've got no issue with Avram Glazer doing that, by the way. I mean, look, it's irritating in the sense that he's, if you actually cared about this club, well, maybe you would apologise. Maybe you'd say, look, we're sorry, everything like that. But you're making the assumption that they care. Don't get angry about the Glazers saying they're greedy and they don't care, and then get angry when they don't apologise. Would you want an apology? If they did apology, people would tell them to screw it up their arse. So I've got no issue with the fact that he doesn't say anything. It just demonstrates their total belligerence and lack of understanding and care for the club. The question for me is always, how did they get hold of this football club? How was it allowed for people like that to buy this football club? What a crock of shit. But the interesting thing is, Glazers running scared, up for sale, question mark. I think there's things to be encouraged by here, because I'll read you this quote. There's some interesting stuff from The Athletic today. And this is from The Athletic, from a former colleague of the Glazers via The Athletics. The protests need to be financial. As long as fans keep spending money at United, they'll be okay. It may require fans to make ultimate sacrifice to not watch United at the stadium and hit them in their own pockets. And this is further mentioned that the Glazers are startled by the reaction and the protests of the weekend. And also, again from The Athletic, that there are concerns around sponsors being targeted by fans. TeamViewer already, in the last couple of days, lots and lots of United fans have been leaving them reviews on Trustpilot and really knocked their review score down to like 1 out of 5. This is the Athletic also saying the most likely way to remove the Glazers from Manchester United is to hit them in the pocket. Now it's interesting because we've been talking about this for 2 weeks. Nothing against the protests that have happened over the last couple of weekends, and I'm sure there'll be another one. But the feeling is that the Glazers are going to try and ride the storm. They're going to try and Woodward has apparently said this to staff, that they're in it for the long haul. They're going to ride the storm out. Maybe they will buy a few players in the summer to make people feel more happy. But the point is, do you want the Glazers to be in charge, whether they buy Sancho, Rice and Varane, or whether they don't? Do you want them to be in charge of this football club? Have they had too long already? Have they made enough money? Have they actually exposed what they really are? Would you ever trust them if they suddenly said, yeah, we're going to be like Sheikh Mansour, we're going to spend loads of money? I don't think anybody would trust them anymore. So now is the time, now is the opportunity. And the evidence is there. I mean, this is not a fan theory. We've all thought it, but this is coming in from numerous journalists now. The Times have mentioned it. The Telegraph have mentioned it. Athletic have mentioned it. The Glazers' weakness is money, and they're worried about sponsors being targeted, and they're worried about people withdrawing their money. The time is now. Call to action, whatever you want to call it. If there is anything to be organised and any opportunity for fans to come together, and as per usual, the United Stand will be, as a community, firmly behind this. There are things that can be done collectively that the whole fan base can get involved in. If you don't live in the UK and you can't get to Manchester, you can't go to a protest, but you could be as passionate a fan as every other. Well, suddenly, if we can unite the global fan base against the Glazers and hit them in the pocket, there's a huge impact you can have. I've seen a few things this morning. What I will do is I'll retweet some of the stuff a little bit later in the show so that you can go and find where it is, because I know it's not always easy to find where people are doing stuff. It's on my Twitter feed from last night at Mark Goldbridge. You can see an open letter that's been put out to the sponsors. And basically that open letter is not a penny more. And what it basically says to all these sponsors, whether it's Adidas, Cola, TeamViewer, whoever it is, and we've got loads of sponsors as we know, it's basically a letter saying, look, we respect the fact that you want to put money into Manchester United Football Club because you want your brand to be associated with Manchester United Football Club. But at the end of the day, that money that you give to Manchester United Football Club goes to the Glazers. It goes to the Glazers to take out in dividends. It goes to the Glazers to service their debt. If you sponsor Manchester United, you're sponsoring the Glazers. And therefore, it's open season on the sponsors, because you're not sponsoring Manchester United. You are funding the Glazers, who are people that we don't want in this football club. That's what that letter says. There's another thing I've seen this morning about MUTV. I'm sure many of you subscribe to MUTV. I think there are, there's probably quite a lot of MUTV subscribers. People are unsubscribing, screenshotting the unsubscribe and tweeting it. These things are very powerful things to do, but you've got to be willing to do it. You can't just take a screenshot of it and say, "Oh, I'll keep MUTV because I quite like, Ollie's interview." Well, you can get Ollie's interview reaction on the United Stand. You can get Ollie's interview reaction on the BBC. There's all sorts of stuff. But it's going to take. That's the thing they're scared of. When you look at what's being written in The Athletic and when you look at what's being written in other outlets, the Glazers are scared of being hit in the pocket. They're scared if you target sponsors. They're scared if you stop going to matches. They're scared if you stop buying shirts. They're scared if you start unsubscribing in your masses from MUTV. So everybody, I said this last week, the opportunity for you to get involved is going to be there, and it starts today. It is. You can get involved in all of those things, but you can't do it individually, but share it out there as well, because it's a way to feeling, isn't it? And who knows where this will end up, but there is an opportunity there to really express your dissatisfaction with the way the club has been run over the last 16 years. And, if you want that opportunity, it's there in front of you. And if you want the Glazers to sell, well, look, the pathway is there. Hit them in the pocket. That's not from me. That's not from fans, although I think we all know that. This is coming in from the media now. The media that's not really over the last few days been that good, I don't think, in helping fans. They now are putting it out there. I was quite surprised to see people, journalists putting it out there publicly that the Glazers are terrified of fans targeting them in the pocket. Any idea how much they were expected to have lost due to the Sunday match being cancelled or postponed? Says Marcus Laird. I don't know about that. I mean, that would be a drop in the ocean. But they are looking to be in it for the long haul. And I saw something quite interesting today. You might have seen it on my Twitter at Mark Goldbridge. Last 2 years, and probably for every year over the last 20 years, really, Manchester United top of the league in relation to revenue stream. So we're top of the league, and that's the only league they're interested in. That's the only league title the Glazers won. Top of the league for money coming in. Yet we've never been anywhere near a title race in the last, 8-9 years? Yet we've been consistently top of the revenue stream. And this is what I always talk about, and many people will agree with me on this. People talk about getting a billionaire owner in. Well, look, maybe we do need somebody like that now. I don't know. I mean, I'm not that in depth in our revenue, but the point is we probably do need that now because we've been run so badly for 16 years. But if the Glazers had never bought us, we never would have needed a Sheikh Mansour or a Roman Abramovich. The revenue we've had, we could have renovated the stadium, improved the infrastructure, bought top players in every year, and still, we would have won more league titles. We would have won more Champions League. But because we've had this debt put onto us, and because of the misuse of the football club, we are still winning on revenue, but that revenue doesn't actually cover a lot anymore because of all the debt and the servicing of the debt and the lack of success on the pitch. I think last year Liverpool got quite close to us in revenue, and I was like, how did Liverpool get close? Well, because they've been successful on the pitch, isn't it? Success makes money. The Glazers have never really thought about this, but success brings in money because there's more revenue streams, there's more sponsorship possibilities, there's more eyes on your brand. But they've never seen it as that. Hurt them by going into their websites and abandoning baskets. Business spend millions on data, mess with their ability to aggregate data, says LP. As an Australian living in Japan, I wake up at 2 a.m. to watch United, and I'm just as much a supporter as people who live in the UK and Manchester, says the Japan. And has anyone come forward with an interest in buying Manchester United? Who buys the club if they sell? Sideys won't be allowed to, says Trishan. I think the first thing, to be honest with you, Trishan, the first thing is to make the Glazers sell. The second thing, you're right, will be to make sure that we've got a decent manager, a decent structure to take over. But the feeling amongst Man United fans is that they don't want another owner that comes in and has control of the club anyway. They want some sort of fan structure around it as well. So we will have to wait and see. Crimson says he's just cancelled MUTV. Everyone should do the same. And a lot of people talking about different millionaires and different billionaires. Look, you could go out of the fire and into the frying pan. You don't necessarily know. I don't want another owner to come in. If we're going to have another owner, I've never really answered this question, so I will answer it. If there is no hope for football and the only way forward is the one that's been in for the last few years, and I'm talking about general football here, do I want the Glazers to sell? Yes. What sort of owner would I like? I mean, look, I don't really want to say this, but I would like an owner like Man City have got, like Chelsea have got. Somebody who actually who is rich but wants the club to be successful on the pitch. But ideally, I would like to see a reform of football where not every club is owned in that way, because I just think it makes it ultimately, like Man City benefit, they are benefiting massively, and Chelsea have benefited, but they are just play toys of these billionaires who come into football and can just change the whole world of football. So I would like to see more fan ownership. Let's play the long game with the Glazers, says Steve Locke. Keep trending Glazers out, and hopefully they will spend and get what we want. And even then, they still don't give up. I don't really understand that, Steve. Can you and other groups come up with a plan to target sponsors like Target Adidas today, etc.? All season ticket holders shouldn't buy tickets next year, says Karen. Well, look, I mean, I think you make a very good point there, Karen. There has to be a unity in what people are doing, and I certainly do agree with that. And look, I see a lot of things being said at the moment, but I don't see a lot of unity. I thought the protest was organised fantastically well, but it is a little bit quiet at the moment. I don't really know. There's a lot of people doing a lot of things, but it doesn't feel like everyone's coming together on it. And this was always my fear, that it could become fractured and divided. There doesn't seem to be a lot of joined up thinking around things at the moment. And obviously when there is, like there was with the petition last week, you did fantastic. The protest was fantastic at the weekend. But there is a real opportunity here around hitting them in the pocket. So what's the strategy to do that? Because I don't know. I don't know how you do something like that. It needs proper organisation. You start abusing United sponsors online and stuff like that, you will get your account suspended because it's harassment. So you've got to do it in a clever way. I don't. It's not about threatening people or anything like that. That's not the way you do this. Ultimately, you've got to think like a business, and how that gets organised is the next step. Because if the kit was coming out tomorrow, it would be very easy to, organise pictures, get it all over social media. If you buy the shirt, you're a fan of the Glazers. So those sort of things are very easy. But when are the shirts coming out? And, the shirts might not be coming out for a few weeks, a couple of months yet. In a couple of months, we might all, the fire might be going out a little bit. So there's an opportunity now. It needs to be grasped. 2 players from Leicester who you would sign, says Mark. Well, I'm not really interested in that, Mark, at the moment. We're talking about bigger issues than that, so I'm not going to answer it, Mark. Thank you very much. And we don't want Glazer players. We want them out, says Dan Smith. Well, look, just to add in relation to the players as well, another interesting story coming through, and I think it was in The Athletic again. There's quite a lot from The Athletic today, saying that the players was frustrated with the game being suspended on Sunday, but they empathised with the fans. And there's a growing feeling amongst some United players that the owners do not have the best interests of the football club at heart. Well, hello and welcome to the party. Because I'm surprised that Manchester United players, look, footballers are different. They're different. I mean, some of them are completely up their own arse. They've lived in a bubble all their life where people have told them how great they are, and they don't have a lot of understanding of the sort of issues that me and you deal with on a daily basis. On the other hand, some of them do and are very in touch with those sort of things. And I think you know who some of those players are in football, but also in Manchester United. I mean, Marcus Rashford rings to mind, fully aware of what's going on in the real world. Players like that, and I'm not naming Rashford here because it's unfair to attach him to this, but if I was a footballer of Manchester United, I don't need a protest on Sunday for people to realise that the Glazers don't have the best interests of the football club at heart. If I was at the club when Ander Herrera walked out the door, I would have realised it quite quickly. The way Romero's been treated over the last year. Manchester United have got a rich tapestry history of treating players like shit over the last 7-8 years. So I'd be stunned if any Man United player actually thinks that the Glazers... I mean, it feeds into transfers, actually, because there is talk of Sancho and Chelsea now and Liverpool as well. And United fans, I think, are like, oh, he'll come to us because we nearly got him last year. And this is where it gets quite interesting, because if footballers within Man United are like, it's a great club, we've got a great fan base, but the Glazers are prats, then, you know, maybe Jadon Sancho's aware of that and goes, well, look, I'd like to play at Man United. I like Marcus Rashford. I like the look of the club and it looks great, but there's a lot of problems going on with their owners there. They're not ambitious. You know, Chelsea looks like the better place to go, and that's a harsh reality, isn't it? And actually, hard reality says someone should design an alternative Man United kit with a campaign to buy that kit instead and put profits back into the community. That's hard reality. Glazers out, but can we maybe petition Ambani to buy United to add it? Well, look, you're chucking a name out there, and I'm not going to give it the backing of this community, because a lot of people will say he's just as bad as the Glazers. So, you know, that sort of thing frustrates me. I don't want that sort of opinion. I mean, I can't stop it, but somebody saying, get the Glazers out and get this person in. Have you done your homework on this person? Has he actually got the funds, or is he going to absolutely, you know, if somebody's going to buy Manchester United for 4 billion, there's no point them having a personal wealth of 4 billion, because they've just blown everything they've got on United to buy it. Where's the money to go and do anything else? Oh, they're going to use us like a cash cow again. So, you know, think it through who you're thinking about taking over United. You need somebody with a personal wealth of about 20 billion, because they've got to have billions and billions and billions of more money than after they've bought United, because otherwise they're going to stretch themselves to buy United, then they use the revenue to get the money back, which is basically what the Glazers did. So you've got to think this through. I mean, Glazers keep Glazers out trending. Let's try and get what we want out of them. Play the long game, keep pressuring them until they fold, says Steve Locke. Okay, and what do you think of Chelsea putting fans in the board? They get no vote, but advise the fans that are voted also give 2,500 to charity they like, says Lady Shire. Look, the Chelsea situation is in. I want to go back to the fans and the players and Sancho, but the Chelsea thing is quite interesting. So they've come up with this solution whereby they're going to allow, I think it's 3 fan representatives into board meetings from now on. But they won't be involved in meetings about player recruitment or sacking of staff and player manager recruitment, etc. It'll be about global issues for the club, you know, maybe like stadia and infrastructure and everything like that. But they've got no voting rights. But they will be on the board. I mean, I think it's probably good for Chelsea, because Chelsea aren't looking to get their owner out anyway. Chelsea fans were not happy about being in the Super League, but they're very happy to keep their owner. So look, that's their thing. I do that. It's probably quite condescending, but Chelsea fans are not in this situation with us, and maybe Chelsea have acted quite quickly because they're like, look, we made a mistake on the Super League. Let's get a few fans on the board. They make them feel a bit part of it, but we keep hold of the club. That probably works for Chelsea. Doesn't work for United. If United came forward and said we want to put 3 members, three fans representing fans on the board, they're not getting voting rights, but you can be there for the board meetings, I would refuse that if I was a United fan who was invited to do it, because it's just self-serving. It doesn't actually make any change. The Glazers still own the club. You know, we can't accept something like that. Chelsea, very different perception in their fan base to the Glazers. It's not enough to let Man United fans sit on the board with no voting rights. Chelsea buy every summer. If their manager doesn't do well, they sack the manager, they bring a new manager in and they give him money. That's what they do. They want to win titles. Abramovich is in it to win the title. That's what he wants. That's not what the Glazers want. So why would a fan want to sit on United's board and listen to stories about, you know, making money and making money and making money and making money? You know, that's we need change at Manchester United. Glazers making gold. Sullivan and Brady look good, says Dylan Talbot. And Mark, Ambani has $160 billion net worth and is the leading businessman in India. So the person who mentioned his name has done his homework, says Rath. Yeah, but there's a lot of people, Rath, in the live comments saying don't go anywhere near him. He's just like the Glazers. So, you know, I'm not going to start shouting out somebody's name just because you say so. Because there was people who thought the Glazers were going to be good. Mark, can you please explain exactly how the 51 model works? I did my research, but still not quite got it right. Sacking, I'm not going to do it here now because we're sort of on a morning show, but there is a video. If you search Goldbridge 50+1, I did a video. It's about 10 minutes long. So yeah, but let me go back to what I was talking about before. Players. So players are, you know, they will be fully aware. Thanks for the contribution there from Mikey. they will be fully aware of the issues that are going on. And I know for a fact that there are players within Manchester United, both past and present, who got very pissed off with people like Ed Woodward and the way the club was run, and felt that they didn't have the best interests of the club at heart, that the club is like a business. And it's always an attractive business when you move to Manchester United and you get your big wages and you come in and you think, yeah, this is my dream move. And it's always an attractive business when you come in from the youth setup, because they want to play for Manchester United. But a lot of these players realise very quickly that the dream of playing for Manchester United is not necessarily the reality. You get to play at Old Trafford, you get to play in front of the fans, you get the love of the fans, and you get the feel of Old Trafford, but you hit a ceiling quite quickly in relation to these owners are not interested in winning trophies, and the players know that. It'll be one of the reasons Paul Pogba leaves. People moan about Paul Pogba running his contract down. I think it's going to be a toxic situation, but I don't actually blame Pogba for it, because why would he renew in the current regime? So the interesting thing will be when it comes to people like Jadon Sancho, and this is the path you want to go down here. For me, if Sancho goes to Chelsea, is it not a good thing or is it a bad thing? If he chooses to go to Chelsea over Manchester United because he doesn't like what Manchester United's structure is and doesn't like the look of it, well, we don't get a player that we want. You probably end up with Sarr or someone like that. In my mind, that makes us worse, but it exposes the issue. Why would Jadon Sancho not come to Manchester United this summer? And I still think he can come to Manchester United this summer, and I think Manchester United will do everything they can to get him. But remember what I said yesterday, if we sign Sancho, some of you will be tempted to say, oh yeah, this is what we wanted, let's see what else they can do, let's buy the shirt. But the money for Sancho is there from last year. Manchester United had £80 million last summer for Sancho, but Dortmund wanted 100, so we didn't do it. He's going to be 80 million this year. They're just using last year's money to buy Sancho this year. Yeah, they're going to package it up as, look, we are listening. We're listening to the fans. You're not listening to the fans. You're just using the money you had last year. So, beware of the manipulation tactics that will be used. But maybe they won't get Sancho. Maybe Sancho will look at the situation and go, look, that club's in. Maybe players will look at United and go, that's not the place to go at the moment. I can see a lot of disruption there. So look, it's interesting, but the pressure needs to be kept on. Gerlin says Ambani is worse than the Glazers. He did to an entire country what the Glazers did to a club. You see, I'm not getting involved in all of this. It doesn't sound good to me. Man United, his pockets changed to Elon Musk. How mental is that? Says Bradders, but does he like football? And the issue is already exposed, and we know the Glazers don't care. They didn't care when we missed out on Haaland or Bellingham or Sancho, says Matt Thrower. And I hate how City fans sit there comfortable and expect to win every game, says Vintage United. Well, we were in that situation before, let's be honest. Please smash a like on the video if you're watching, by the way. But look, yeah, I mean, if you join us a little bit later, you want a bit of a summary just at this point. Obviously, there's a video floating around of Avram Glazer just ignoring a journalist asking him about Manchester United and the protests and does he want to issue an apology. Just nonchalantly walking away, total stone face, doesn't want to say anything about it. And that irritates people, but what do you expect? What do you expect? This is who we are owned by. They sit there with a smile on their face when they're making money. And they're under no pressure. They're under pressure now. They're being exposed for what they are. Greedy people who've got no interest in this football club at all. They just want to bleed it. That's all they want. They want to crack on. They want to release new kits. They want to get sponsors. The story of Manchester United is very, very simple. We all know it. Bought by greedy people who put us into debt and just want to take money out of it. Look at the amount of sponsor work that's been done over the last 15, 16 years. It's relentless. Sponsor after sponsor after sponsor. And I pity these sponsors for not actually doing their own homework. Like, some of them will be feeling pissed off. Some of them will be feeling, nervous this morning. I mean, imagine TeamViewer. They're the new United shirt sponsor. Do you think they're sat there in their head office this morning going, can't wait for the summer when the new kits come out with our shirt on it, with our sponsor on it? This is a terrible deal for them this morning because there's all this protest around the Glazers. They've not even had any, Chevrolet. They're like, whew, get out. Thank God for that. We've sold a load of shirts. We've got what we needed out of it. TeamViewer or any other sponsor United have got lined up are like, shit. We thought we were attaching ourselves to one of the, biggest fan bases, massive positivity. We've just gone and attached ourselves to a right old bloody fire keg here. But that, my sympathy also is not really running that deep with TeamViewer or any other sponsor, because if this is the world, this is the corporate world, isn't it? Capitalism. They don't do the research. They just go big brand. We'll get exposure off being attached to them. But you know, I've got no sympathy with any sponsor that's going to get a bit of, you know, nervousness over the next coming weeks, because if you've done your research, which you either did or you didn't, you maybe should have researched the fact that Manchester United is not a stable fan base. Manchester United is run by people who don't have the best interests of Manchester United at heart. And all these sponsors that attach themselves to Manchester United, are they not just using us like the Glazers are? Oh, let's get those fans to buy our wine. Let's get those fans to use our website, this, that and the other. But, you know, you've got you pay this money for it, and where's that money going? You're not benefiting Manchester United. I've got no problems with sponsors, but you know, a sponsor realistically should have the responsibility to look at where the money they're spending to be a sponsor goes. Now, ideally, if the United stand was sponsoring Manchester United, as an example, and I'm sure anybody who if it was doing it was the same. If I was going to sponsor Manchester United or Leeds, well, I'd never sponsor Leeds, but no, we use Manchester United. I mean, we'd never have the money to do it. But if he was going to sponsor Manchester United, one of the first things I would say is, if we sponsor Manchester United, where's that money going to go then? Because if the owner goes, well, it's just going to go in my pocket, I'd be like, well, yeah, that's not really what I want with this sponsorship. I mean, obviously, you know, sponsors want exposure, but it's like, yeah, I'm not totally happy with that. I'd like to think that money's going in. But that's because I'm a Manchester United fan. These people are just business people. So business is business, isn't it? This is now a business for Manchester United fans to try and get their club back. So it is, as that letter says, in a business sense, it's open season on every sponsor of Manchester United, because you are funding the Glazers. You're not funding Manchester United Football Club. In fact, I saw somebody say it yesterday, are these sponsors not an enemy of Manchester United fan base? Because ultimately, their sponsoring of Manchester United is why the Glazers are there, because they're making money and that's what they want to do. 50+1 or pitch invasions every game when fans come back. That's the only way to guarantee we don't get bad owners again, says Umar. And Mark, if we get new owners, I'd rather they put cash into repairing Old Trafford than buying players. Honestly, heartbreaking how the Theatre of Dreams has been neglected by the Glazers. It's a disgrace, says Lee Woolsey. Yeah, but you know what, Lee? You make a very good point there, because it's not, you know, you'll get your talk shit radio station and these uneducated pundits, and they'll be saying things like, oh, Manchester United fans, they're only doing this because they're jealous of Man City and they want to buy better players. We do want to buy better players, but it's not like we're 10 players away from winning the league. You know, competence in that football club would make us a title contender. I think we're 2 or 3 players away from a title challenge. Some people might say we're 2 or 3 players away and a decent coach away, but look, that's their personal opinion. I don't care about that. I don't think we're miles away from winning the trophies we want to win. But it's not just that. It's the debt. It's the money taken out. It's the dividends. It's the structure of the football club. I spoke about it the other day. Old Trafford's not been renovated for a very, very long time. It's 75,000. It should be 90,000 by now. We should have actually gone through another phase of restructure at Old Trafford in the last, period of time. I forget when was the last time we did any building at United, but I'm pretty sure it's sort of around 20 years. It may be even longer. So I agree. Like, money needs to be spent on that stadium. Our fan base, I'm confident that United could have 90,000 at every Old Trafford game. Confident. That's another 15,000. But it's the expenditure to do it. You know, football grounds make money. Like when they built the Emirates, it cost them a lot of money and it took them a lot of time to pay it back. But in the long term, it will make them money. Probably not now because they're a mid-table club. But when, you know, the feeling was that Arsenal are a top 4 club, and maybe they'll get back to that. But imagine how much more money Manchester United would make every home game if they had another 15,000 fans there. So, but the Glazers don't want to do this. I said this last night. Not only are they bad in relation to they take money out of the club and they're businessmen, they also are the worst kind of business person, because it's like they're lazy. They buy United. They know they can take 20 million out every year. And then somebody probably says, you know what? If you spent 100 million, in 2 years, you'll be able to take 40 million out a year. So you'll actually start making more money. But they don't want to spend that money to do it. Oh no, I'll just keep with the 20 million, thanks. Yeah, but in 5 years, you could double that if you spend 100 million now. I know it's a bit of expenditure, but then you'll make a lot more money. No, don't want to do that. They're not interested in that sort of thing. I agree with you, Mark. Only the fans can have the best interest of the club in the heart. No need of any owners to care if it's Ambani or Musk, says Rath Ronnie. And it is becoming the theatre of rust, Crimson. I mean, we've had leaks in the stadium. There's leak. I mean, that's a bit of a metaphor for United. It's full of leaks in many other ways as well. Do you think that Cavani breaks the number 7 curse, as Caleb? I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not massively interested in talking about football in itself at the moment. We've got a press conference at lunchtime, though. Ollie's press conference at lunchtime. He will be asked about the protests, so I'm quite interested to see what he's going to say. We'll be live about that one. I mean, just a little bit of transfer news. Gazzetta dello Sport is talking about Koulibaly in relation to Liverpool and Manchester United. I'd love Koulibaly. I think at this stage I'm very worried that we're not going to... 2006 was the last time that the Old Trafford got renovated, which would have been from the previous ownership anyway, because I don't think the Glazers would have been able to come in and get that sanctioned quick enough. So they've not really done anything in relation to that. Advath says, what are the Glazers actually good at? They're good at making money. That's what they're good at for themselves. They're very good at it. They're very good at it. I mean, look, it's very easy just to be very angry with the Glazers, and I think we all are, but I've said this many times. From a business point of view, it's a masterstroke, what they've done. It's just an absolute tragedy that they've done it to Manchester United, because when you look at it from a business point of view, what they've done is amazing. They bought an asset that was on debt, that was always going to go and earn a lot more money. You know, from a business deal, they're quids in. But they never should have been allowed to do it. Welcome to the Members Club, Paul McLennan. Thank you very much. But yeah, Koulibaly, I'd take Koulibaly at Manchester United on a just to drift into football a moment. Varane is the player I would really like, and if we can't get him, it would be Koulibaly. I feel that we need a top-class centre-back. And I know we've spent a lot of time over the last couple of weeks talking about bigger issues, because they are bigger issues. They really are. But in the footballing sense, sometimes I think we move away from it. In a footballing sense, we are in a situation where I still believe that we need a centre-back and a CDM, and they're very important. And if Koulibaly was interested, then that's what I'm looking at. I've just, if I know there's a lot of people saying, how do we get involved in the looking at sponsors and things like that? I've just put a retweet out on my Twitter account at Mark Goldbridge from an account that's got the letter, but has also tagged in all of the sponsors of Manchester United. It's well worth looking on that account anyway, because there's a lot of information on it in relation to that. But yeah, that's on at Mark Goldbridge Twitter now. The open letter at Not a Penny More, and all the commercial partners tagged into that as well. But look, we'll have to wait and see what else comes in relation to that. I'm certainly aware that a lot of you are eager to get involved. I understand why as well, but a lot of you are eager to get involved because you are not based in the UK, so you cannot get to protests. And I think this is the time to do it. Nazra says everyone needs to tweet that tweet and all the sponsors with Not a Penny More. Look, the headline for me today is that, and this is coming from a lot of media outlets in the UK. I know we've spoken about it on here for a few weeks. We've spoken about it for a few years, really. The way to hurt the Glazers is to hit them in the pocket. But this is now coming from the media, from sources in and around the Glazers or in and around Manchester United, that they're nervous. They're startled by the level of protest at the weekend, and they're nervous that those protests may now start to target sponsors and financially start to hurt them. Because when that starts to happen, the Glazers lose power. If Manchester United starts to lose money, they start to lose money. And obviously they've got debt repayments and all sorts of things. So look, you know, people think, well, we're damaging Manchester United. If we don't damage Manchester United in relation to revenue, you don't, you know, if you keep propping United up, you keep propping the Glazers up. It's harsh, but it's the truth. if Man United keeps making money, the Glazers keep making money. If United starts to lose money, the Glazers start to lose money. What you're basically doing is you're turning a tap off. You are the revenue. You can turn that tap back on whenever you want, but you can turn it off and the revenue starts to drop, the value starts to drop, and hopefully the Glazers start to go. And when the Glazers go, you can turn that tap back on again and the money comes back. So look, but it needs to be coordinated and it needs to be done properly. So but you can all get involved in this. If you are putting money into Manchester United, there was a tweet this morning about unsubscribe from MUTV, post a picture of you doing it on your socials that you've done it. Don't buy merchandise, don't buy anything from the sponsors. You know, email the sponsors about your dissatisfaction in a polite business way. People are leaving reviews and things like that. I mean, I don't know how that really works, to be honest with you, but hit them in the pocket. Hit them in the pocket. I think it's the way forward, because it's the only language they seem to know is money. So, you know, speak to them in their language. Speak with money. Don't give them the money. Hurt them financially, as Advath says. The Sir Alex film is coming out. Yeah, looking forward to that. Looking forward to that. And Ollie's got a press conference at 1 o'clock, so we'll be live just after 1 o'clock for that as well. And he was asked the question, Avram Glazer, he was asked the question, are the fans just customers? Wouldn't reply. Would you rather have an owner that is like the one that is potentially taking over Arsenal, or one that can put millions into the club every season, says Jack Dunwell? You know what? I think that's a great question from Jack, because we talk about change, but we don't talk about what we would like. I know that Manchester United Football Club, because of people like you, and because of, you know, the size of it, it's not like if you were Norwich, your dream would be Sheikh Mansour, because Norwich is not a big club. It's a Premier League club again, but it would take a lot for Norwich to be a top 4 side, because it's just not, the structure of Norwich is not that. Whether it's 50 plus 1 or whether it's billionaires, they've not got that. So if Norwich want to win a Premier League, the only way they're going to do it is by either a miraculous amount of young players coming through with the best manager there's ever been, or a billionaire. But that's a Norwich story. That's a Man City story. That's probably a Chelsea story. I think with Manchester United, we don't need a billionaire. We don't actually need a billionaire. We've got the revenue. We've got the fan base. We've got sponsors and everything that would be interested if the club is run properly. We don't need a billionaire. What we need is responsible ownership. Ownership that wants the club to be successful. Ownership that's not leveraging the club to make money and put us into debt. That's what we want. We don't need a billionaire. We probably do now because of how we've been owned over the last 16 years. But actually, if the club, if the Glazers, and this is never going to happen, if the Glazers went, we're really sorry, we're going to take the debt and everything and we're giving the club back to the fans. The fans would then have a decision to make. Like, do they sell it? Do they have ownership? Whatever. But if you had the right people in, if Man United was just let go for nothing and there was no debt, then it would be a very, very sustainable business that could fund itself. Structure of the ground, rebuild, buy players. One of the big issues with Manchester United is just incompetence in the way that the club is run from top to bottom. But we make so much money ourselves that we don't need a billionaire owner. The reason we need a billionaire owner now is because these owners of ours won't sell it for less than 4 billion. But yeah. Anyway, look, I could go on, but we've got a press conference to react to. I'm looking forward to see what Solskjaer's going to say at lunchtime. I mean, I expect as a hint, I think he will play a straight bat and just say, you know, it was regrettable what happened, but you know, fans have got a right to protest. I think you'll get something like that. Efo says, some people insist that what we do won't work. What we're stupid to think would do anything. What do you think? Can we do it? The people who are saying that this won't work are the people who've never tried. Like, we've never had this opportunity. What it needs is organised. Look, we've got, this video will probably have 100,000 views on it. Manchester United have got millions of fans. You're telling me that millions of people, you know, unsubscribing from MUTV, not buying Man United shirts, you know, letting the sponsors know that they're not happy. You're telling me that that's not going to have an impact. When have we ever done that before? So how can people say something won't work when it's never been done before? The time is now. It just needs unity and organisation. But when the media are feeding it out that the Glazers are scared about being hit in the pocket, that's a big hint. That's a very big hint. It's up to the fans what we do in relation to that. But there needs to be organisation and needs to be unity. Check out the tweet on my Twitter at Mark Goldbridge. That's there's a letter there and all the sponsors and everything like that. And also, you know, but you've got to want to. You can't not do something yourself. You can't just go, oh, I hope they unsubscribe from MUTV. I hope they are going to read that letter and spread it out. You know, you've got to do your own thing, because if it's like signing that petition. Everybody who signed that petition got it up to over 100,000. You've got to take responsibility and get involved. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll speak to you for Ollie's press conference at lunchtime. Have a good day, take care, and get involved.